Put it on a plate. Put it on a plate.
Eat all of it. Eat all of it.
Salt. Chocolate.
Burger.
Fatty, fat.
Look at that pig. Starving.
Somebody stop it!
Pig. Starving pig. Pig. Eat all of it. Eat all of it.
The way I thought is if I couldn't be skinny, I'd rather be dead. So if I was going to die in that process, I didn't care as long as I was going to die like bone skinny.
I wanted everyone to like me, you know? I just wanted everyone to accept me, and I thought that, you know, being a little bit chubby was going to interfere with that, which has nothing to do with it. Seriously, people don't care.
It was as if the hunger was masking this feeling of hurt. There was something inside me saying, Larry can't take hurt, but he can do something about hunger, so we'll make him hungry.
Whether you're have difficulty with anorexia or with bulimia or with some kind of problem that has aspects of the two, pretty much it begins in a context of somebody having low self-esteem. They don't feel very good about themselves, and they want to try to diet as a way to feel better about their appearance and feel better about themselves in general.
I felt like that there was something wrong with me my whole life. I felt like I was wrong, I was bad because I was different. I wasn't skinny, I wasn't this, you know, svelte little California girl, and I felt that that robbed me of a lot of experiences. I didn't go to the beach, I didn't go camping, I was embarrassed to be with friends, didn't want to get undressed in front of anybody. You know, my friends would invite me to go do things, and I'd be just so ashamed of my body from the very, very young age. I mean, I remember being 8 years old and being invited to a swim party, and I didn't want to go.
I had a very low self-esteem. I was very shy. I was uncomfortable around people. I didn't know what to do.
When I was young, you never heard about bulimia and anorexia. It just wasn't something that people, if it was even there, it wasn't talked about. Certainly, nobody was really aware of it. We went out and did things and had fun, and we didn't worry about that kind of stuff. Wasn't important.
Women are so stuck on that whole thing with the obsession with being thin and stuff, right?
They want to be really thin, and they go through crazy stuff, you know, to get real thin and stuff. So
you see like all these models and everything all perfect, so you just like want to be like them, and the men who you see them all wanting them, so like kind of want to please them too. So
in my mind, I wanted to be beautiful. Also, it has to do with the fact that I want to be a performer, and it's like performers. You see all these actresses and models, and they're all like little boys. They have little boys' bodies, and I wanted a little boy's body, and it's like that was impossible for my body. My body is not built like a little boy, and so instead I still had my hips, and I still had the curves of my stomach and the little belly at the bottom, just because no matter how much I starved myself, I still was a woman, you know, I wasn't a little boy. And I was just hurting myself really bad.
One thing that's very clear to me, and I went through, I was a compulsive overeater from age 4 to 18, and then I became anorexic, severely anorexic for 3 years, and then I went through bulimia for about 7 years. I've been through this whole spectrum, and one of the things I've noticed throughout the entire time is that I look at women more than men look at women, because I look at women to compare myself to them. And if I see a woman that's attractive and maybe slightly heavier than I am, then that gives me hope. I see women that are thin and I hate them. I don't really hate them, but I'm constantly comparing my body size. Constantly. I'm constantly trying to feel okay about my body size. Because I wake up every morning and feel fat.
The pursuit of thinness is about gaining a sense of control over themselves and increasing sense of self-worth. That if they don't feel they have control over their life in ways that they think are due them, or if they feel like if they'd only lose weight, or if you only lost weight, you'd feel more confident about yourself. People would like you better. You'd be able to achieve more. Then what I would start looking at is what are some of the roots of those messages? Where does that come from?
I think it was the way I was brought up, because I was brought up in a family that cares a lot about how you look. And also, it all started when my parents split up. And we had a very close family. It was the three of us. And even though we were so close and open with each other, I was kind of like the parent to my parents, because they were so young when they got together. And the reason that they split up was because they were so young and they needed to like live their lives. And when that happened, they were so worried about catching up with the life that they missed when they were young. I was like on my own. And without having someone there to tell me I was supposed to eat at this time and to try to make sure I was being healthy and taking good care of myself, I didn't know. At 12 years old, I was 12, I didn't know that I should be eating properly, what properly was. And I just started taking it upon myself to do what society says is good for you.
It's my understanding that part of the reason why I compulsively began eating was that I didn't have a very good family organization. You hear people talking about dysfunctional families. Mm-hmm. My father was an alcoholic, and my mother also was a compulsive eater. So I learned from them the different ways to deal with things, and the way that I learned how to deal with things was through excess food.
It started when I was approximately 24 years old, a serious weight problem. Mm-hmm. And I had a baby, and the doctor put me on birth control pills, and I gained 50 pounds in 6 months. And then I went back to the doctor, and he says, whoops, I guess you're one of these people that can't take birth control pills. So he took me off of them, but then I already had the 50 pounds on, and they didn't come off.
I went to New Jersey for 2 weeks on like a vacation. I brought my former best friend with me, and we had been through elementary school together all our lives, and she was always like the dorky one with the big ears and the chicken legs. I mean, it's the truth, and everyone paid more attention to me. Well, anyway, she grew into her big ears and her chicken legs and everything, and I just still thought of her as the same dorky person, you know? And so we went on this trip, and like we met these guys like at the tennis courts or something like that. And I just automatically assumed, oh, they're gonna like me over her, you know, of course, you know, I wasn't considering anything, it was just something I like felt that I knew in my head, and they liked her. And I just didn't understand why, you know, what was wrong with me, you know, that they liked her over me, and I just freaked out about the whole thing. I like dyed my hair black. I just tried everything to like make myself look better, and I started to throw up my food. And I didn't think anything of it, just like big meals. That's, you know, if I ate too much, if I felt I ate too much, I'd throw it up.
The person's sense of self-worth or self-value is gauged by their weight, and the thinner they are, the more valuable they believe they are, the more positive they see their future, or in their peer group. And the peer group may be quite large if it's a smaller school, that there's a lot of influence there, that in fact the thinner girls are more popular, the thinner girls are getting more dates, the thinner girls are having more fun. I mean, their life seems to be exciting and it seems to be moving, and they appear to be more confident, so that reinforces the belief system that an anorexic individual may have.
Well, I know that anorexia is very dangerous, but it's good to be thin. Like, I don't have a problem with that. I have a very high metabolism rate, but you shouldn't go overboard because it can kill you.
Girls that are 115 pounds are worried about dieting at a teenage age, and I find it pretty ridiculous.
Our figures tend to be that 1 in 100 women between the ages of 12 and 18 develop anorexia nervosa. So it's a relatively rare disorder, and it's also one that has a high incidence of morbidity because 15% of the women who develop anorexia nervosa do die from it. For bulimia, about 5% of college-age women develop bulimia.
Every second, there was not, I mean, there's no way I can describe to you how often this was on my mind. This was the only thing that I ever thought about. I dreamt about it. First thing I did when I woke up in the morning, touch my stomach, look at myself. And I would constantly be sucking in my stomach, and my ribs were sticking. I mean, it caved in perfectly. You could see, like, my organs, I mean. And it was like I looked basically the same as I do now. It's just when you looked at my stomach, you would see how it was so empty. And that's one thing I couldn't deal with, is because I was like, why am I not getting skinnier?
The person has a terrible fear of fatness, and they also have, real significantly, a distorted body image, which means that these girls who tell you that they feel fat or they see themselves as fat, they're not just saying that to get attention or to get reassurance. You know how a lot of people do, they'll say, oh, I'm fat, and they want you to say, no, you're not. Well, that's not what this is about. These girls really see themselves as overweight, or one part of their body or another kind of distorted and malformed, and, you know, really seen as unattractive to themselves.
I would try to fast for a couple days, but I would think of it not as starving, but as fasting, like the way Gandhi fasted, like he was supposed to be so healthy. But then after a while, I started trying to fast for like 3 days at a time. I would feel so good about not eating that when I would eat for like the 4th day, I would eat grapes. And then that would make me feel guilty, so I would say, all right, I have to punish myself and not eat for 3 more days. And I just started doing that, and I would be working out like heavily during that time. I wasn't eating hardly ever. I was living off of coffee because I worked at a coffee house. And I was drinking coffee, and that was my food to me. And I was like, okay, I don't have to eat. I feel fine just drinking coffee. And one day I came home and I just like collapsed.
What I got to in anorexic mode was, at the most severe, I was eating a bran muffin every 3 days, and the rest of the time having water and coffee and cigarettes. And I just lost a tremendous amount of weight and put my body in starvation mode, and your body finds a way to survive. It shut down a lot of things. It ruined my gastrointestinal system. My hair didn't grow, my nails looked awful, my skin looked terrible, I was really pale, I was cold all the time because your body does not have enough nourishment to keep itself warm. I was bruised all the time, I didn't have a period for 3 years.
Like the first thing that you lose is your breasts. A girl who starts starving herself, first thing she loses is that, and that made me think worse of myself, because I was like, I have this fat body but no breasts, so it like looked gross to me.
Interestingly enough, when I went to a doctor in Santa Barbara, because my mother was concerned about me, he said, you're fine. Because again, the ideal in California is thin. So he's like, you look fine, don't worry about it.
I think society expects in Southern California to be lean, trim, and very healthy. And I also think that we need to be healthy and trim, but I don't think we need to be thin.
My father used to say that overeating was sinful, and that's the way I grew up thinking, and I think that it may have some truth in it.
I was married to a man that just couldn't abide, or he said he couldn't abide fat people. And he would constantly put me down and say, oh, you're so ugly, and all this kind of stuff. But it was interesting. I joined the gym, and I had lost 14 pounds, and I was going every morning and exercising. And when he saw that I actually was losing weight and was serious, he started bringing home strawberry shortcake with homemade whipped cream, and he would sit there and eat it in front of me. And when that didn't stop my dieting, well, yeah, this is the man who said you got to lose weight, but he really didn't want me to lose weight. He wanted to use me as an emotional punching bag.
I think that people eat too much today. They're too concerned about food, eating a lot. You look down the street and you see all these big fat bodies, and they're ugly, really ugly. I think people should be more concerned about staying thin.
There was a time when I felt people were looking at me. If people at the next table, for example, were laughing, they were laughing at me. I was the center of everything. I think it's important to learn that I'm not the center of everything.
And so it was sort of a cycle. I didn't feel good about myself, and so I ate. And eating more and having more weight caused me to be, have less self-esteem. It was a cycle. It was a cycle.
Any kind of stressor, that imposes some kind of strain on the individual that they feel they have to cope with, sometimes the person kind of feels like they can't handle it, and so they turn to something they feel they might be able to handle, like dieting and losing weight, and then they get real preoccupied in that because that helps them to feel like, here's something I can be in control of, here's something I can master.
If you see yourself in the mirror and you're becoming incredibly obese, then I think you should have enough willpower to say, okay, I'm going to stop, I'm going to control my eating.
Big bellies, that isn't pleasant to look at. I think that the thin people are more attractive.
Every woman I know, no matter how quote-unquote perfect her body is, has an image problem with her body.
Well, I know what I want to look like, and it certainly isn't quite up to par just yet.
I think women for a long time have been obsessed with the way they look, and I think it has a lot to do with the media, obviously, and what women think they have to look at. I've always been thin my entire life, so that's something that I don't think about on a daily basis. I mean, I recognize that I'm thin, and that's what people want to achieve in this society, but I think it's a shame that people think they have to look like a supermodel, and that will give them some kind of happiness and fulfillment.
I think that people's emotional problems are what puts them over the edge. I don't think it's the media's fault that these kids or adults go over the edge.
Whether the media reflects society or society reflects the media, it's very common to see eating disorders in people that are higher socioeconomic status or people that are upwardly mobile in these higher social groups, supposedly social groups, that it's very chic to be very thin, it's chic to be in control, it's chic not to have a normal body of a woman.
Society really does a shitty job in portraying what we should look like. Not everybody can live up to those ideal pictures that we see of people and the way people should look like.
The media is saying, you are only good, you are only loved if you look like this. And that is so wrong.
I don't think the media is wrong.
Television is entirely exploitative of women, and it places a great burden on them, and places a great burden on people in general to be perfect, to live up to a societal vision of what we view as beautiful. And I think it's to a certain degree it's oppressive, and it's tragic in a lot of ways. It causes a lot of people a great deal of depression about their lives.
People look at fat people as something very negative. And they automatically assume all this fat person does is sit and stuff their mouth every minute of the day, which isn't true, by the way. They have shown in clinic testings, there have been people that have been on 800 calories a day and have gained weight, depending on what their body chemistry is doing. So, but the concept is all this person does is eat, and there is prejudice. People have gotten their minds that skinny is beautiful, and we want to have the beautiful. It's aesthetically pleasing.
I think they have a lot more opportunities. I think people like the thin people, and the men particularly.
Almost everybody in America discriminates against obese people. Even the people who say, oh, I'm not prejudiced at all. Yes, you are. Because instantly you see somebody who's overweight and you make a value judgment. Instantly.
If everybody was made the same, we'd have a very boring world. Also, I make you thin girls look great. So you should be very grateful to me.
Before you make a judgment like, why are they eating an ice cream cone? Be aware that you're thinking that. And realize that the reason why I'm thinking that is because this is how I grew up. I grew up thinking that people who are fat are wrong, are out of control, are bad.
I don't think men have the same sort of the way that they've been socialized, I think, is completely different than women. So I think their external, the image of themselves isn't a concern. I think it's more about who they are and their power and their money. Those are things that men are socialized to think about, not about whether they have a big gut and whether the girl thinks, that doesn't turn me on, honey. Well, you should get to the gym. So I don't think those are male issues really, as much.
you know, if a man's got a little paunch or 15 pounds overweight, that's no big deal. It's much more accepted for a man to be overweight than it is for a woman, much more. And I think that that's one of the most significant ways in which men have reinforced this very unhealthy mechanism for being thin.
You know, men may display their difficulties in other ways, say about becoming aggressive or being interested in guns or getting paranoid, or some of it is biological differences between men and women. You know, whether you think about aggressive men or eating disordered women, lots of times the issues are wanting to be able to feel a sense of mastery and control and power in the world.
I think the media projects a look that they put a, I guess, what would they call it? They classify you as being gorgeous or beautiful, or that person's weird, that person's strange. And then the people, you grow up not knowing who you're supposed to be. And so I think that kids have a hard time growing up with, they see all the models in the magazines, and then they see all these beautiful people walking around. They think they need to look exactly like them, and they don't. They just need, I think kids just need to learn to be themselves these days and not get all into what the new rave is and what the new clothes styles are and how you should do your hair, how you should do your makeup. I think that if we just start in the homes and have parents teach their kids just like who they are and what self-esteem those kids need, then it won't really matter if you're flipping through a magazine and this woman says, try this makeup on if you want to be beautiful. They're gonna do what they want to do.
I really wanted attention. I wanted to be noticed. I wanted to be, you know, the girls in the magazines. I wanted to be that perfect person. I wanted to be like 5'9" and weighing like 120 pounds. You know, I just wanted that so bad.
I would try to throw up sometimes, but I couldn't. I guess I don't have a good gag response or something, but I couldn't throw up. But I would have probably, I mean, if I could have done it, I would have been bulimic too. I had my mom buy me laxatives. That's another way of being bulimic, but my dad wouldn't let me take them. I had considered going on like some sort of drugs, and I was never, ever, I've always been so against drugs, but like, not drugs like diet pills, but like serious drugs, because I know a lot of people who would take speed and like heroin and stuff, and they get really skinny. I knew that that's how it happened. I was like, maybe I could do that.
I had a drug problem and I got checked into a hospital. When I went to the bathroom, 2 hours after every meal, I'd have to sing while I went to the bathroom with the door halfway open so that I wouldn't throw up my food. Because I would I'd say I had to go to the bathroom and I'd still throw up. And then I just stopped eating. And so if I didn't eat 50% of my meal, I had to drink these like protein drinks called Intra. I don't know what they are. They're like all vitamins and protein and, you know, whatever, and they had them in chocolate and vanilla. And so I lived off Intras and like junk food at the hospital. But then I started to learn how to eat properly again.
I had 2 pieces of pizza, and this was the first time I had eaten like anything like that for a really long time. And I was okay, and then I went into my bedroom and I passed by my mirror and I looked at myself and I looked so fat. And I just started crying and like hysterically. And my boyfriend came in and he said, you know, well, I can't deal with this anymore. This is exactly what he said is, you want to be beautiful, but this is ugly. You sitting here crying all the time and starving yourself, that's ugly, that's not beautiful. And it was like, that's true, you know, I was like, you know, it made me realize. I knew I did not want to be that way. I knew it wasn't fair for myself to have to feel so unhappy when all my friends were eating like McDonald's and everything. Mm-hmm. And I was like sitting there starving myself and I still wasn't happy with myself. And I said, I have to do something about this. So I told my dad, you know, I have to see a therapist or some sort of specialist or something. So that next day I called and made an appointment and I started seeing a therapist.
You know, they say that you have to hit bottom before you'll be willing to accept that you've got a problem. Mm-hmm. My experience was that I was at the last house on the block.
if I'm really hungry for a chocolate chip cookie, I'm a lot better off eating the chocolate chip cookie than I am eating, you know, a banana and an apple, because then eventually I'll eat, you know, through the entire refrigerator, and then I'll go eat the chocolate chip cookie. So for me, I have to slow down, not be so compulsive and so driven in my life.
And it's not been an easy road for me. I've gone up and down, but it's gradually beginning to sort out. I think it is. I feel it is. Certainly, I'm relatively content to be where I am, knowing that I have to be where I am in order to get from where I've been to where I'm going.
But I really believe, I haven't gotten there yet, but I really believe in order to really lose weight and maintain the weight loss, you have to change your whole lifestyle in healthy eating and exercise.
People around the fellowship that I belong to say that you're as sick as your secrets. And if you can get honest about your life and what you're doing and share that with another person and with yourself and be honest, then you've got a much better chance of recovery.
You may not be able to stop the symptoms of an eating disorder, but you can start being aware of why you're doing it, why you're denying yourself food. Anorexics have to start thinking of what's going on behind their denial of food. And it's a very long, slow process. It's taken me years.
When you focus on the problem increases. When you focus on the solution increases. So it is not so much a finger pointing as recognizing and taking some action. I think action is the key.
I did see a psychologist, and he said to me something very useful. He said, "Larry, you're not going to lose weight and then love yourself. It works the other way around. You're going to love yourself first, and then you'll lose weight."
In the long run, it doesn't matter what you look like or how skinny you are. You can be the most beautiful person without being physically beautiful. And nobody else will love you if you're not happy with yourself. And that's true, and people say that all the time, and it's hard to believe, but it is true. Nobody else loves you if you don't love yourself.
I think everything boils down to loving yourself and accepting yourself for who you are and accepting other people for who they are.
I'm glad that I am who I am today, and that, you know, and if people don't like me, oh well, I'm happy.